This year marks 20 years that Tom Jackson has been crisscrossing Canada at Christmas, bringing not only entertainment and music, but also awareness to the growing need among the most vulnerable. Jackson and his wife Allison live just north of Calgary on a quiet acreage, and in late November, their home was buzzing with rehearsals and preparation. I was able to snag a few moments with him and chat about his story and the inspiration behind his annual Christmas tour. Known for many different contributions he has made, even he struggled to find the right description of himself.
I think it depends on where you're from in this country. I'm either a singer that acts or an actor that sings. But the great satisfaction for me in the world of art is that it's an instrument of change for me. It becomes a vehicle for me to create some change and have some influence in a pursuit to help others gain a better quality of life through a chain of events.
Jackson is modest in recollecting what has brought him recognition over the past 40 years. His larger-than-life personality has led him to the big screen as well as the small, with guest roles on Sesame Street, Star Trek, Law & Order, as well as a lead role for 6 seasons on the award-winning show North of 60. As a singer and entertainer, he has produced 15 albums and toured relentlessly. But he says that his greatest rewards would be recognition for his humanitarian efforts, recently receiving the Order of Canada among other humanitarian awards, and in particular, his annual fundraising tour.
After 20 years of celebrating Christmas, it is as I get as much of a reward out of bringing people on board to this initiative as I do playing music, because it's really to some degree a passing of the torch, or a better understanding for others to redefine ways to redefine love in the world. And it's very satisfying when somebody gets it.
Jackson says that this perspective started from the first he can remember. He is the son of an English father and a Cree mother, spending his childhood on a reserve near Winnipeg. He understood from the start that learning to be generous was a gift.
I was brought up understanding that because I was in a framework in my family, that my family bond was very strong, is very strong. My parents, bless them, are gone, but we were taught as kids all through our lives to be conscious of others.
Jackson watched as his parents opened their doors to anyone who might need a hand or a bite to eat, and he simply followed suit when his parents were out of the house.
That they'd come back and the cupboards would be bare because I'd be feeding all the kids in the neighborhood, and they'd be going, okay, but you don't have to do it all the time. So, you know, I was blessed with that upbringing. And then, you know, as I grew older, a lot of circumstances in my world had changed, and opportunities came up that made me again understand that I was really put here to do certain things.
As a teenager, Jackson chose to live on the streets of Winnipeg for a couple of years, wanting to connect with the world he felt he belonged to. Reflecting back now, Jackson sees the impact that experience had on him.
I don't think it changes why I do things today, but I think it gives me a perspective of who the people are that benefit, that can benefit, you know, from what we do.
Jackson adds that being on the streets opened his eyes to the many organizations that make the difference between life and death for many, and has since partnered with a number of them for his projects and tours.
And you know, we don't do it without partners. I mean, my greatest partner, Allison, does as much work on this project as I will ever do. But we have partners too. You know, we have Uville, the Women's Shelter. We have the Salvation Army. We have the food banks. We have Meals on Wheels. And it's not that I can solve the problem, but I can help them and in their efforts to solve the problem by supporting them. By, in this case, this year, this Christmas, by raising funds that would help them do what they need to do.
What began as a single concert fundraiser in Winnipeg in 1988 has evolved into 20 years of national touring, raising awareness for homelessness and the disenfranchised. Tom has been able to raise over $200 million in cash and in-kind value for food banks, community service agencies, and disaster relief.
Yeah, this is our history. If you come all the way down to the end here, this was the original cover of a cassette, which we produced to raise money for Winnipeg Harvest. And it's an interesting little story around.
Over the years, the tour's name has changed from the Huron Carol to Singing for Supper, and now this year, 'Twas in the Moon of Wintertime, the name of his latest album. Jackson says that the response and support that this Christmas tour has received is rather easy to understand.
You come to a show, you get to support your art community. You get the opportunity to celebrate Christmas for all it's worth and all its glory. And at the same time, you get to support organizations that help those who are in need. So it's a pretty good, it's easy to connect the dots as to why it has some success over the years.
It is this success that fuels the passion to make what would seem to be mundane in preparing a tour year after year, a task that he and his wife Allison actually relish.
I look forward to every day getting up today. You know, may seem insignificant to others, but just simply organizing what order of songs we're going to play. I mean, you may not think it's exciting, but it's exciting. I know what the audience is going to feel like. You know, I can see their smiles.
Through the hours of preparation and rehearsals, Jackson says he and his band keep a clear perspective by realizing they are not playing for themselves.
We're involved in a labor of love, and that the better we perform, the more effective we will be in helping others in their pursuit to better the world. I know that sounds holier than thou when you say better the world, but let me clarify that. I've often said that you don't have to change the whole world. You really only have to change yours, and the rest will follow. You know, the Creator put me on this earth to do certain things, and I was given gifts, armed with gifts to utilize in pursuit of the gift, the bigger gift, you know. If I wasn't able to say, I believe this to be true, if I wasn't able to say, good afternoon, my name is Tom Jackson, and you're listening to 94.3 on your FM dial. If I didn't have a voice, I wouldn't have a voice. So, that being said, every day we play for others.
And with 40 years of acting and singing, 16 albums, and 20 years of this Christmas tour under his belt, he has no intention of slowing down his efforts to impact the lives of the less fortunate.
I like to think that I'll be able to continue doing what I do because it gives me breath. I've said that, I've now adapted this whole idea, that it helps me breathe. So as long as I get up and breathe, it'll get my feet moving, and we'll continue doing what we do. I heard the bells on Christmas Day, that old familiar carols play. wild and sweet. The words repeat of peace on earth, goodwill to all.
In Calgary, Natalie Faith for 100 Huntley Street.